Hey everybody, it's me, Laura, and today we're going to create some leaf canes. And I've been meaning to do this for a while, but in the spring I thought I should have done it, but it's fall and all I think is leaves. So right here we're going to go ahead and create a bullseye cane, and we're going to roll this up and we're going to create our first leaf cane. Now, the one thing you guys got to know when it comes to my leaf canes, which are going to be a little bit different from some of the others, is that my blends are, how do I say, a little bit more dynamic because I don't blend up my other color. Normally, when you do a Skinner blend, at least from what I've seen, you do a complete blend of like a darker color to white or whatever light color it is. And generally when, I do that blend will take over completely where you change or lose the color you had before. So I like to blend where you definitely still have the original lighter color visible in my blend. This creates to me a more interesting dynamic in my canes and more fun to any patterns that might come about. Okay, so here you could kind of tell with this particular bullseye cane, I'm squaring it. So I'm making more of a square cane instead of a rounded one. And remember, when you're turning this into a square cane, that when you use your acrylic roller, that you use even pressure on all four sides. Okay, now we're going to turn this thing into a leaf cane. We're going to cut this thing into 4 sections. So starting at your left-hand side, you cut down right into this square cane. And you're going to pull each of these pieces apart, and then we're going to put a piece of black clay, and I want to say, oh, this was done on probably a number 2 or a number 3 setting on my Atlas pasta machine. And I wanted to have a little bit of a thick line, not too thick, and that's why I didn't do it on a number 1 setting. Now with this in mind, you guys are probably thinking, okay, she's using black, okay? And black is very dynamic. This is not gonna look I know others like to have it a little bit more lifelike. I like to have mine a little bit more cartoony or where it's really dramatic. So that's why I'm using black. Now, if you don't like that, go ahead and use another color. You can use, I don't know, even your metallics like your gold or your silver. You can use, I don't know, an off color, more of another green, maybe a lighter green to help, make it more subdued if you wish. So when it comes to the line here, this is just my personal choice. I like to have it where I see that dynamic line in my leaf canes. But if you don't like that, try some other color that you really prefer. Okay, I'm bringing in another piece of my black clay, and this one I do say it was done in a number 1 setting. And part of this is because it's going around the outside. This is going to be your line, if you will. Just like my black lines will be the line for the veins on the inside, this will be the line for the outside. And I wanted to go a little bit thicker because I wanted it to be, have more of an emphasis, if you will, in the shape of it. But anyways, I'm going to take this and I'm getting that all trimmed up. Once I have it trimmed up, I'll bring in my blade. I'm going to cut this thing diagonally. Okay, once I get that cut, I flip one over. Do you notice how I did that? I flipped one of these sections over. This way then it gives the angles right in creating those veins going in the right direction. So remember that anytime you do the leaf cane, this is just a standard thing, I think, when it comes to creating leaf canes. You're going to take one of the sections that you've done and you're just going to flip it over so that the lines will line up the way you need it. Now I've got another piece of black clay, again done on a number 1 setting, and you could go a little thinner. You could go a 2 or 3, you could also do that. And I've got it just a little bit up into, I didn't take it all the way to the top. You can take it all the way to the top, and you'll see that in a couple more that's coming up. But I wanted to show you what it looks like just like that. Okay, this time around, we're going to go ahead and take another piece of my Skinner blend of green and white, and I'm going to roll it up with this time having the green in the center. Usually I like to put my lighter color in the center of my bullseye canes, but I thought, no, we need to have an example of if you have a darker color in the center with your lighter one on the outside. But from here, I'm going to go ahead and let my hands talk as you guys watch me create this leaf cane where I have the white on the outside instead of the green. Okay, so these are the two examples of doing my Bullseye leaf cane where I have either the green and white with the green on the outside and the white and the green with the white on the outside. Here you guys, I think, are going to have a lot of fun. We're going to create another Skinner blend of green and white, and then once we have this, we're not going to roll it up like we did before. Instead, we're going to do our fan fold. I've always discovered in caning, or at least it seems to me, that there's generally two different ways you can go with a cane. You can either do a fan fold or you can roll it up into kind of like a bullseye type feature. And out of the two, the one that I think holds more options, if you will, is really the fan folded cane. And a lot of it is because you have one color on one side and one on the other. And so this makes for a lot more interesting options when you go ahead and create any kind of cane you do. So I am creating quite a little brick here, and I'm just cutting off my ends because I want a really nice square brick. So I'll bring in my acrylic roller. I'll make sure I square this thing up really well. And when I do this, this kind of elongates out a little bit. And in doing so, normally I'd go on the one end here and I'd cut my 4 sections, right? I'd go right here and I'd cut 4, right? But it's a little long. So it's almost easier to go on the side like this, because this way then I know that side is not quite so tall. It's easier to cut. And keep that in mind when you're doing this. And then right here, again, we're going to go ahead and we're going to start putting in that black clay. And that was done on a number 2 setting on my Atlas pasta machine. So that black clay was flattened out on a number 2. We're going to go ahead and cut this. And, I don't really use a ruler, guys. You just, you cut it so that you think, okay, that's about as wide as it's going to be. Once you have that though, then you cut it right around that green section that you just laid down on it. It's a nice, easy way to be able to measure it without having to use that ruler. I love that. No ruler. If you have to use the ruler, well, okay. But in this case, it's kind of nice. You just butt your blade right up against that green and white section as you put that black down. And then you put another section up against it, another piece of black, the green and white section again, another piece of black, and so on. I have to apologize, guys. So I was looking at this a little bit more, and just by, from what I have here, that black was rolled out on a number 3 or 4 setting. This cane was not that big. I have a certain rule of thumb when it comes to the cane work. If you have a cane that has a diameter of 1 inch to 1.25 inches or bigger, I always like to use my number 1 setting for my line, okay? If you go smaller than that, then you really need to step your pasta machine down to a smaller setting. And, I like to keep it in the range of a 1 to 4 when it comes to my line. I really don't like to get smaller than that unless the cane is tiny. And even then, I don't really like to deal with tiny cane. I'm putting in, a little bit of line. So in this regard, keep that in mind when you're creating these canes. I didn't do a real good job in letting you guys know, okay, yeah, this is this big in diameter and so forth here. But this was a smaller cane when I was working with it. And part of this is because when I went to go roll out that green and white section, and I'm trying to create that square-like, log-like look, that's why I had to cut it on the side with the cane where the height of it was shorter, and I was looking at the longer length. And because you were looking at that longer length and it was a smaller cane, you have to step down that dial on your pasta machine to give yourself a thinner line when you go to create your cane. Now that we have this leaf cane, completely, done with my black all the way around, we're going to cut it diagonally, and right from, your dark green to your white, and you'll pull it apart and flip one around. Now look at that dynamic. You got a little bit of green on the bottom part, and you got a little bit of white. So this gives you another option for a leaf cane. So I'm going to go ahead here, bring in my black. Yet again, it's been thinned out to a 3 or a 4, and I'm going to place that down right through the center of this. This is going to give me my vein right through the middle for my leaf cane. All right, when I created this cane the first time around, I didn't realize there was an option here that was hidden from me. Right here you get the original cane, right? This is what I had. I had 2 different ones. Well, let's say I had 2 of these, okay? Instead of flipping them both around where they're going to be, okay, light and dark, take one section, put it on one side, cut it in half, right? And put it together. This gives you another leaf cane option. You do the same then with the green, and then you flip it, and it's like mirroring, just like you would do with a Natasha. And you get 2 different types of leaf canes. Now at this point, really, before I cut it, I would almost say lengthen out that triangular form and then cut it in half. And this way then you'll get more. But the options were there, and that really surprised me. So here I had one where I had the lighter section in the center, and I had the darker one in the darker green in the center. So in the end, I wound up with 3 different options in creating my fan folded leaf cane. That really did surprise me. So I thought, let's go ahead and redo this one more time, and let's use a little more clay and see if it works better that way. Okay, here I have a fan folded leaf cane, and I've already put in the sections. I'm going to go ahead and make sure the black is all the way around. Now the difference here is that I made a little bit of a longer cane. So the green and white will be looking at me, but the side part where it's all black there, that's going to be a little bit longer. I want to say this thing wound up being about 2 inches long, which was just about right because I want to have about a 1 inch, just 1 inch to work with, if you will. And I cut it in half, and I thought, good, we got that going. We'll go ahead, and then from here, I'll take each of these particular canes and diagonally cut them, one corner to the other, from the white to the green, and the same with the second one. Once I cut these into 4 sections on my 2 fan folded leaf canes, you're going to take one main black vein that runs right down that center of the leaf and place it in the middle. Once I have that though, I can use the other twin section to create a leaf with either an emphasis of the lighter part on the inside of the leaf or the darker part on the inside of the leaf. This gives such a wonderful look, and I love the dynamic that you get. Now that I have these canes together, here's the thing. I need to put registration lines on each of them. And the reason why I do that is because when you go to reduce this thing, because it's fairly big, it's kind of in a squarish form, and unless I leave this in kind of a square-like look where I can use my rod to roll it on each side where it keeps the image in the same position, you really need to have a registration mark, especially if this thing goes into more of a circular-like cane, which in my mind it really does for me. I mean, I could keep it in a kind of square-like look, but I like to really reduce it down and roll it on the surface of my, my workstation. And when I do that, you really need those crazy registration marks. And actually, they're kind of nice because they add a tiny little detail that you wouldn't get otherwise. Okay, so just a reminder here, when it comes to reduction, remember to use even pressure all the way around and start from the middle outwards, okay? And when you use your rod, use even pressure on all 4 sides, and also pulling. I like to pull my canes a little bit. It makes it easier for them to kind of even out a little bit, if you will. Just so you know, this clay was really soft, and so when I went to go ahead and reduce it down, even when I cut down with my blade, it would pull the clay a little bit. So like right here, you can see a little bit of that black right where I started to cut down. It kind of came in. If you have to, use a little, use your blade to just kind of shave that off, if you will. It's not going to affect the entire cane, but like I said, this was really soft clay. From here, if you really don't like those really pointed, wide kind of, it does kind of look like a diamondy, square-like look, just, pinch in on those little sides, round them out a little bit, and you'll create more and more of a leaf-like look. Right, this is my big bonus round on the leaf cane. I just kind of thought, I wonder what this would look like if I tried this. So I took 2, because I had these left over. I thought, why not? I had 2 bullseye canes, one with the green on the outside and the white on the inside, and the other one with the white on the outside and the green on the inside. So right here, I'm just wrapping them up in the black, and I'm going to do the same to my white and my green. Once I do that, we're going to go ahead, after I trim it up here a little bit, once I trim these up, I'm going to take my blade and I'm going to cut both of these bullseyes in half. Once I get that done, I'm going to take one from one cane and one from the other and put them together. So this way then I'll have half of my green and half of my white in the center, and I'll do it with both of them. Once I do that, I decided I really needed to know where north and south were. So here I put registration marks on the outside. So right where the cut was, right where I have the white and the green meet up on the outside, I went ahead and put a registration mark on both sides. All right, now that we got our registration marks down on both sides, right at where we had cut, I'm trimming it up, and then from here we're going to go ahead and reduce this piece. Once I reduce this down, we're going to put the registration marks on kind of the side. So you're going to have them where they're going to be facing you, and you're just going to be seeing the black of the other side. And then what we'll do is we'll bring in our rolling pin or our acrylic roller, and we'll flatten this piece into kind of like an oval type shaped cane. Okay, once we get this rolled out just a little bit more, we're going to cut this piece in half, and then we're going to mirror it, and then we're going to take the ends off too, because I know those ends kind of bug me. They always do. And then we'll cut this thing in half as well, and we'll put the other two sections next to it. So we'll have 4 sections all looking, or I should say kind of mirroring each other. From here, I'll take my acrylic roller and I'll roll this where this entire cane will be more of a square cane. So I'll roll with even pressure on all 4 sides, and I'll make sure that it's, I'll punch it down a little bit because I don't want it too tall. But I'll punch down a little bit, and then once I get this into a nice little block, I'm going to take my straight blade, my tissue blade, and I'm going to cut it corner to corner. Once that's done, I'm going to take one section, I'm going to flip it over, and then I'm going to get some black. I'll have like a little flat sheet of black. I want to say it was rolled out in a number 4 setting on my pasta machine, and I'll make that the vein right up the center. All right, so now I thought, I've got that same cane, okay, where I have a half and half, and I thought, let's go ahead and change the location of where those registration marks are. I mean, the last time I put it right at where I had cut down, I thought, what if it's in the middle, where it's not where the cuts are, but right in the middle? So let's just go ahead, reduce it again, cut those 4 sections, put them together, do the cut diagonal, and see what we get. So using the half and half bullseye type cane and then putting it together, the first time around it was pretty good. It kind of was predictable in my mind, but this one surprised me. I was like, this is really a neat looking leaf cane. So I'm definitely going to probably be using this one in the near future. All right, so I was just thinking if I cut it in half, that's pretty cool, but what if I cut it into 4 sections? What would that look like? And then, every other one would be a different one. So like I'd have a green against a white, and then I have another white against a green, and so I'm going around the circle. I thought, what would that look like exactly? So I took this cane and I thought, let's have some fun. Let's go ahead and create it very similar to the last one in the regard that we're going to go ahead and roll this out into more of a, I'll put my registration lines down, and we'll put the registration lines on where I cut. So just like I had done the first time around with the half, we're going to do it with this quarter type. And I thought, let's go ahead and put it right on the cut line and just see what happens with it. Okay, so let's go ahead and cut this and see what we get. I mean, I'm kind of excited about it. And okay, that's a little different. It looks like a little lightning bolt. Okay, I could do that. I could do lightning bolts. Yeah, it looks like a little lightning bolt in the center. That's pretty cool. So something to look forward to if you try to cut this into 4 sections. I don't know. There's something about it. I like it. I just kind of cute. We're gonna cut it in half, of course, or I should say diagonally, and then of course I'll flip that section around. And yeah, that's very interesting. Okay, so you knew if I was going to do it once, I'd do it again. So I'm changing the direction of where the registration marks are going to go. And notice there, I made it a lot easier on myself. I had 2 halves, cut those halves in half, and boom, flip it over. Just makes it easier. And then the registration mark is going to go not where I cut, but right in the middle of one of them. So I decided to put it right on the white. I thought, well, let's just see what happens. And then we'll go ahead, we'll reduce this yet again. We'll roll it sort of flat, not entirely, kind of in that oval-like cane yet again, or I should say that, yeah, oval-like cane. And then we'll cut 4 sections. Then from there, we'll go ahead and take those 4 sections, create our brick where I have each one of them side by side, and then we'll cut a diagonal on the one end and create our leaf. Okay, so let's see what we got, shall we? Let's cut this in half. Oh, oh wow. Oh, I like that. Okay, that's my favorite. That's my favorite. We're taking that one home. Yes, we're going to definitely do this more often. Oh, wow. I love that. That's very different. I love the I don't know. There's something about the triangular look. I just love it, guys. That is so neat. From here, I'll create a nice brick. I'll trim off the back end just to make sure I've got a nice solid bottom on there. And then make sure I've got a nice brick. Once I have that, we'll cut that diagonal. And then I'll get some black clay. And this is, I'm going to take that black clay and I'm going to flatten it on a number 4 setting yet again. These are small canes that I'm dealing with. So definitely on a 4. And then I'll lay that down. So this will become my middle vein for this particular leaf. And put the other side on, and there you'll have it. Okay, so here's the end result with all my different leaf canes that I created. I hope you guys will use this for study and reference. And if you like this video, please like, subscribe, and leave me a comment. I'm always wondering what you're thinking. Otherwise, I am sending out my biggest hugs to each of you, and I hope you have a fantastic day.